Signore e signori, buonasera e benvenuti alla Casa Italiana Zerilli-Marimò della New York University. Benvenuti, welcome. Tonight is a night of celebration, and we are celebrating an artist, a director, an actor, a film and TV producer who's very close to us for ties of friendship and of being colleagues, working in similar projects. And we never did anything on this fantastic person. So we decided to have this evening as a celebration. So celebration means, first and foremost, to look back to what our guest has conceived, produced, and realized throughout the years. And then to also have a look forward to see the things on which she is working. So basically the structure of the evening is that we are going to present 3 films. I'm going to say the name last when I call her to make the grand entrée and walking here. So I'm going to save it. 2 films, 2 short films. I would say her first products as a director. And then a documentary. So 2 films and the documentary. I think it totally is, 90 minutes, Lucia? And then after each film, we're going to have a very, very brief conversation. And at the end of the 3 films, we're going to open it up to all of you. She's a fantastic person. She worked as a producer for Italics. I think it remains today the most important TV show about the Italian-American community in America. And she did fantastic interviews and stories at great length. So that's on top of being a director of her own films. She acted in several films, including one with Spike Lee and many others, TV series, one with Fabio Volo, if I remember, and much more. But since part of this evening, as we said, is a celebration, we're going to have time to go through most elements of the biography of our guest while we discuss her films. So without further ado, I just want to remove myself from your view and have you just look at the fantastic guest of tonight, Lucia Grillo. She can walk because she's also a model since she was a little girl, right, Lucia?
Yeah.
So it's finally I have somebody who can do a walk. I'm going to make her do a walk. Lucia, so we start with your films, but before that, what was between you and cinema as a young girl? So a young girl from an immigrant family, and what was the spark? You saw a specific film, or there was an actress that you saw and admired, or it was... Tell us what it was.
Oh, I think it was books. I'm such a nerd. Yeah, I think, I remember I used to do commercials in the bathroom mirror. So my first languages, and I was also shy. So I loved books. I read so many books as a kid. Loved nature. And my first language is English, simultaneously with Calabrese. And then when I was like 9 or 10, I started studying French. So I remember with my little sister, we would do commercials in the bathroom, speaking in French. And then cinema, acting, I think it was this. I think it was that I was so shy, but I loved books and I loved stories. And when I was like called to read in the front of class, the shyness went away. And I realized that there was stories to tell and that I could do that. So I think this was it.
I love the idea that somebody goes into cinema because of books. And see, one of the courses I teach is cinema and literature. Next time I'm going to bring you in. So the marriage between the two of them is stronger and more full of imagination than one can actually imagine. And of course, we have also a point of pride in having Lucia Grillo here with us tonight because she graduated from the Tisch School of the Arts in acting. She also an alumna of the Lee Strasberg Theater Program. Since age 15, you started?
I studied there for 7 years, yeah.
And she also had a major in Italian studies from this department here at the Casa. And she studied with my maestro, Professor John Freccero, Dante, and the Divine Comedy. So she has fully round, but we're very happy also to promote her as a somehow product of this institution. Thank you, Lucia. We start now with your first film. So we're not going to say much before the films, but maybe 2 things to help our audience to understand when you made it, what brought you to make this film, the choice of the language, and a few other things that you want to mention. But then we're going to discuss it after.
Okay. All right. So I was in Hollywood, literally in Hollywood, furthering my acting career because I'd been propelled by a great director who really believed in me. So I was auditioning for huge projects. And I started interviewing my mom and my zia, my aunts, because these people had such courage, that gave me the privilege of having the life that I had. And I really wanted to have a visceral knowledge of what they went through. So I started interviewing them thinking that I would have this illustrious career as an A-list actress, and then one day, when I was this age, start directing. But the more I listened to these tapes, one of the stories about my mom when she was a child in Francavilla Angitola in Calabria, it stuck with me.
Remember this name because it's going to come up again and again. Francavilla Angitola. Everybody repeats it? Francavilla Angitola. Bravo. Non Angitola.
Angitola, sì, the river. And so this one story kept, kind of shaping itself into a script. So I left Hollywood, went to Calabria, and started making this. And the reason why was because the more I was born here, so I missed an entire life. I get so emotional. I missed an entire life of being Calabrese, Italian, but really Calabrese. So, and my parents gave so much to me, right? Their lives are for their children, grandchildren. So the only way I could really pay homage to them, I could never live what they'd lived, but the closest I could come to was preserving our family history, our language, because the more I become American, right, the older I get, the more the elders die, the easier this tie is lost to my identity, my roots. So that's why I embarked on making these films.
On the film that we are seeing.
Yeah.
So it's a childhood history. So it's taken from your mom, the idea, but then of course you elaborate on it and we're going to talk about it. We're going to sit right there for now and then we're going to come back to the stage. Enjoy. So it's a childhood story, sad story, and a true story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a story that you heard from your mother.
Yes.
And is she the girl?
She's the girl. Yeah.
And in the film, you played the role of your grandmother, basically, and she plays the role of La Signora Pio.
My mother plays Signora Pia, the woman who wanted to cut her hair. I was like, was that traumatizing at all?
For the baby Jesus. Lucia, let's talk about it. It screams to be discussed. Your relationship with Calabria, it's an ancestral relationship. It's something that, knowing you a little bit and having seen your things, it's visceral. It's like inside you. It's very, very deeply embedded. And no matter how far you live and for how long you don't go visit, but it's like something that you carry inside you. How did that process happen of you becoming such a Calabrese girl, being born and raised in New York? By a Calabrese family.
Yeah.
By the way, how many of you are Calabresi? Guarda.
My cousin right there. And
Ciao,
Joe?
cousin. Ciao.
From Australia.
Welcome to the family, from Australia, from everywhere they are. Thank you. So you have a lot of paesani.
Yeah. I love you all. And we have Greeks in the room.
Great.
We're part of that.
They're also relatives.
Yeah. So I think my whole life kind of ties together. My mother brought me to, look, there's no Italy without Calabria. For all of you, for me. Calabria is Italy for me, So my mother brought me there the first time when I was 6. And I'm literally a born tree hugger. So to be in this quiet, one-road town that, you don't hear anything. You just hear nature. And it's like, it was peaceful. But then, my nonna, like the strong culture and the roots. It's the roots, being an American. I'm a punk rock New Yorker, but being American, I really didn't have anything here to identify with. So.
And how did that process of giving you roots happen? Was through storytelling? We assume because this was a story that you heard. Would they read you things? Would they narrate stories from their own childhood? How did that? Did they sing to you?
Oh, I love
was
this
it
question.
through cooking? Very often, that Italian Americans, it's like the cooking, in acts of cooking, that they also transmit from one generation to the other, stories of the family and other facts. How was yours?
Well, you know, my father's a chef. My father's a professional chef. And everything. I think first the language, right, which I hated because my zia, my aunts and uncles would be like, "Oh, how cute, she's speaking Calabrese," and I'd be like, "Ew, like don't call me cute. Like I'm trying to just speak, you know." And they sent me to Sunday school to learn Italian. Oh my God, I never heard such ugly sounds in my life. I was like, what is this language? Because our dialect is very soft, you know? And the Italian to me was like this foreign. And
it was totally foreign to you. It was not your language. Foreign. So you didn't recognize it. They probably assumed that instead you should recognize it.
Yeah.
And something similar happened when you went to Italy finally, and not in Francavilla, in other parts of Italy. How was your interaction with the Italians?
So one of the great things about this place, the Casa Italiana, is that it validated the legitimacy of the dialects as valid languages. I do not bend to discrimination ever. And I kind of was a little bit naive. So the first time I went to Italy by myself, I was like 19, and I went from Francavilla, my parents' town, all over Italy, you know, the major cities.
Alone or with friends?
I went with a friend, but then I ditched her because I really needed this experience by myself. She was driving me crazy. I'm sorry. Oh, this is on camera. I love you. I love you anyway. It was really important, though, that I had this experience by myself because I really needed to absorb it. So I went to, I think, Milano, and I went to Paninoteca to get a sandwich. And is this what you're talking about? Yeah. So I went in and I pointed to the sandwich I wanted, and I said, you know, "Un panino qua melanzana," and the woman, bless her, "Le melanzane," and I'm like, "A melanzana," like I'm not going to say this word. It's melanzana. My mouth is not going to say melanzane. Now it does. But yeah, that was it. And she was gracious. She didn't say anything. But I went Milano, Florence, Rome, speaking Italian, Calabrese.
And Lucia, did you, of course, with Calabria, the connection is so strong and so visceral. And then once you also got to know the rest of Italy, and now you're very familiar wherever you go in Italy, you find yourself at home somehow. Yeah. How did that happen, the process of discovering that also the rest of the country somehow was your home? Never like Calabria, but... Yeah.
Oh, it was when I moved there. So when I went to shoot this film, A Pena do Pana, I had to go back from Los Angeles to Italy again to shoot more of the film, to finish it. And I thought, well, why don't I just move to Italy? So I couldn't live in Calabria because there was really no work for me. They had a local person teaching acting. They didn't want someone from New York. So I moved to Rome, where, again, I was modeling, acting, doing all these things while teaching in the university. And I was forced. Again, Roman, oh my God. I did not want to hear Roman dialect. And now, you know, I can speak a little bit of Roman, and I know, you know, the culture and the slang and the music, the hip hop, and, you know. So it was really kind of by force, because if I wanted to live there, I couldn't be l'Americana, right? I really wanted to live it, so. And
so let's talk about this film a little bit. So the idea is that it comes from a family history. There is a long tradition in Italian cinema of representation of children. Il neorealismo, right? From Lato di Biciclette, Shusha. And also in American cinema, Frank Capra has some kids. Is there any model that you had in mind in the representation of children? Because you give a very real, you don't idealize the girl. The girl she knows what she's doing. She's very strong. She's fierce, right? But it's also, you pan on her face with infinite sweetness. It's like affection. So I wanted to know how you dealt with shooting with children and representing them on the screen, because it's not an easy task.
I prefer children to adults.
Really? Tell us why.
Yeah, because their imagination, they don't have all the inhibitions that we do, right? They don't have the baggage. Like, as an adult, you have to, like, as an actor, you have to let go of everything to build the character. Mm-hmm. But kids are so, it's accessible, it's right there. And Maria Teresa was like, I mean, this girl followed me around because she wanted to play the part.
Really?
And I was like, you're not right. You need to look like me. You have to have curly hair. I woke up at like 4 a.m. every morning to curl that girl's hair. So, and then you could see, like, I don't know if you noticed, but you could see it getting like straighter and straighter because I was like, I'm so tired. There was one film, it was a French film, and I forgot what it's called, that really was influential in how we the angles that we used for her and how we treated her as the protagonist. It had to be on her level. It could not be from the point of view of the adults, right? It was like the Charlie Brown of Calabria. It had to be us experiencing it through her. And there was a French film, I'm forgetting the name of it, but it was about a little girl whose mother died, and she was very religious. And it was the first time I really saw this up close of this child really kind of navigating life. Like you said, we've seen it in films, but there was something about that French film that really brought us like right here, like the extreme close-up, and that's what I wanted.
And why don't we introduce the second film? Okay. So this was made in 2005, and the one that we are about to see, 2010. Yeah. So 5 years later. Another source of inspiration, right? Yeah. From an article in a newspaper, a cronaca nera, something that happened, that really impacted you very much. Do you want to tell us something about the film, and then we discuss it more in depth?
I'll tell you a little bit. So, the reason why I wasn't interested in making another short film. I just wanted to make a feature. And as I was researching for the feature, we'll talk about a little later, I was reading a lot of the newspapers to find out what is the reality in Calabria today, especially for the youth. And I came across this article, and it was devastating to me, broke my heart. So for a Pena do Pana, I won an award, and part of the prize was a week of equipment to shoot something else, but it was in Rome. And I said, I have no interest in shooting something in Rome. You need to let me bring it to Calabria. They're like, Calabria? I was like, oh, come on. So they're like, well, you need to insure it. I said, no, you need to insure it because it's a prize. You're giving it to me, so you insure it. And they did. Panalight gave me cameras. It was amazing. So we went down and shot this. And I wanted to mention about literature. Yeah. The title of the film, Ad Ipponion, Ode to Ipponion, and this is like the history, right? This is why I'm making films. Ipponion was the antique name of Monteleone, which was Vibo Valentia, which is the province where my parents' town is. So there was a poet in, I think, 1906, born in Calabria, Enrico Pasquale Murmura, and his family moved to Rome. And he felt this deep nostalgia he missed Calabria. So he wrote this epic poem, Ad Ipponion. So it was a kind of a bittersweet ode to the region, and a kind of a call to action to the Calabresi back then to rise up and stand for their land. And I found the connection with my contemporary characters.
Yes, because it's a fact of chronicle. You see, of course, Lucia transforms it in the way in which she presents it, but it's cronaca nera, a crime that happens. Okay, horrible, young people involved as a consequence of a much larger problem. But what you do in the film is that you use this poem. And it's basically everything is transfigured through poetry. It's like it's a poem about that fact, about that problem that exists, this drug dealing and the cartel and anything that comes with it. But it's also a film about sort of the soothing power of literature and of poetry in particular. Yeah. Also because Murmura has this. He's a great poet, first of all, and he sounds like an epic poet of ancient Greece. Yeah. The way in which his lines are recited, acted. So it's very interesting what you did with the poem vis-a-vis the fact of chronicle, of everyday life. How did you run into Murmura? He's not exactly the most famous poet in Italy. In Calabria, definitely, he's a very important figure. Yeah. Who was the person who told you should check out?
Oh, yeah, this is very important because this is all why I do all of this. So I was in LA. Was I in LA? Oh, I was in LA, or I don't know. So it was like the early days of the internet. I think I wanted something. I don't even remember how. But somehow I came across the Sistema Bibliotecario di Vibo, which is the library system in Vibo, Valencia, in the province of my parents' town. And he had the PDF of it. I think I emailed him and I said, are there any Calabrian poets that you can recommend? He sent me this. And yeah, we've been dear friends ever since. So
it was the librarian that suggested you to check this out. But you wanted a soundtrack. There is also a beautiful soundtrack, but you wanted the poetry to be the main soundtrack of what happens.
Yeah.
That helps us give a different interpretation also to these horrible daily facts.
It's the same as Murmura. It's my bittersweet love story to this place that, I have nostalgia for, that that I'm not from. I'm from here, and then the call to action to the Calabrese. We have this beautiful, rich land. Pythagoras lived there, right? Escher went there. There's so much culture, rich culture, right? From the conquests, the invasions from everywhere. And it's kind of like my call to action to the Calabrese to, claim our culture and our language and stand up for this land that is, is marvelous.
You have to launch the film. Say the title again, nel calabrese più puro che puoi.
Ad Ipponion.
Enjoy the show. We'll be back. Lucia, se ricordo bene, questo film è nato, it was born from a newspaper article that you ran across while you were in Rome. But the guy, the young man killed was from Calabria, correct?
Yeah. It was a story I'd been researching for a feature film that I have in development now. And I wanted to know, what are the realities and in all aspects of life in Calabria. And I came across this newspaper, this story in the paper about a kid. It was exactly this, a kid who shot another teen in the face. Here we have after-school jobs, when we're teenagers. There's not enough work for adults. So, and this is not the full reality, right? Because we have, I have friends who are scientists, anthropologists. We have the University of Calabria, but, this is... it ties in, right? Like, I'm from New York. I'm punk rock around the, we have the same, no matter where you are in the world, we have marginalized people like this. So I always think, people think that in Italy we're always, in the piazza sipping wine and, doing chic things. But there's this reality everywhere in the world that ties us all together as well.
And they're in school, these kids. They're young, and they could be the kids that actually read the poetry by Murmura in class, right?
Yeah.
And I'm very interested in that, in the poetic dimension of the... There is a poetic dimension also in the previous film. It is a poem. It's a childhood poem, almost like a lullaby, and it's soothing, even if the finale is sad. But in this one in particular, there is this... a poetry that is tragic in this case, right? The death of the young beloved under the eyes of the young woman who loves him. So you said that this is the beginning of your study about a much larger project that focuses on organized crime in Calabria and 'ndrangheta. That's, that in the different regions of Italy, mafia takes a different name. So it's Cosa Nostra, Sacra Corona Unita in Puglia. Cosa Nostra in Sicily, Camorra in Napoli, and in Calabria it's called 'ndrangheta. It's the organized crime. There are differences also not only in name, but also in the way they work, but we are not going to go into that now. Just know that that's the specific name of the organized crime families in Calabria. So tell us what you can tell us about this new project on which you've been working on for quite a long time, and you have had problem putting into making it become a reality for reasons that you're going to tell us about.
So this project, it's a little bit because Calabria is very mysterious. She is an enigmatic place, and excuse my language, every damn time I go there, I'm like, this time I'm going to figure her out. But I think because of the conquests, right? It's the most generous, warmest people, and then like there's a little bit of mistrust, like, who are you? What do you want? And I think it's from all the conquests. So whenever I go, I'm told that I know Calabria better than the Calabresi, so I'll take it. But I know it very well, but there's an element of mystery, this heavy, ancient, millennia-old mystery. And the 'ndrangheta, just to give you a little tidbit, is the most powerful of all the Italian organized crime because, one, it's intermarriage, right? They marry the other families so that there's no snitches. And then they're not showy, right? The Camorra is very, they'll build palaces and whatever. In Calabria, you'll see a cute little old farmer and be like, oh, he's so cute. And he'll be like the
head of that family, yeah.
That's very similar to the Mexican cartels. Like, they get violent and you would never know. So, the film that I've been, when I lived in Italy, I was having meetings with, anti-mafia, police, magistrates, and then, people. So this film is something that we've never seen before. We've seen the mafia wife. But I wanted to kind of give this sense of a woman like me, right, educated New Yorker, who goes to Calabria and tries to do, like, let's say, give back to this ancestral land. And while she's doing that, this is the part that mainly women like, should I just tell the story a little?
Whatever you can tell.
She's
also looking for producers.
I'm looking for producers.
If you have know anybody that might be interested in putting this story onto the screen, please see Lucia.
While she's there, she takes this kid under her wing and tries to get him away from the organized crime. But what also happens is she rekindles her affair with the love of her life since she was a teen. And what she doesn't know, or maybe she does know but doesn't want to, is that the man that she's in love with is the guy who this kid she's trying to help is working for. So the more she tries to do something about it, the more she gets entangled in this web that she can't get out of. The story is very complex. The issue that happens is that in Calabria, first of all, if you're a woman in Italy, in Calabria, they think, oh, cute little story. And I'm like, seriously? There's a beheading in the story. So I'm not viewed as Martin Scorsese and Mean Streets. It's like a cute little, girl trying to make a movie in Calabria. I'm like, no, I'm a New Yorker. Like, this is Mean Streets taking place in Calabria. So that's really kind of the issue that I've had. And then also because of my current TV show, I've put it on the back burner for a minute because my TV show is taking all my time.
We're going to talk about that. But what you were saying about the almost impossibility to glamorize 'ndrangheta, when we talk about The Godfather and Italian-American mafia movies, there is an element that, of course, has been criticized, been the subject of many essays and books, and it's the glamorization of the phenomenon. Like, people in the 70s, young Italian-American men, but not only, would have clubs in which they would dress up like The Godfather, or they would use the same language. And many words and expressions from The Godfather have become part of the daily language of America. That was a way of glamorizing organized crime, right? Because all in all, we are in awe of Marlon Brando. He's a great leader. He's like a great king at the end of his reign. So But for Andrea to say, it's almost impossible because it's really invisible. It's we don't know the big leaders. We don't know what kind of life they conduct. So making a film out of something that is so out of the public eye, and it's not. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Cosa Nostra is very cautious about the things that they let out, but they seem also in some cases they have some marketing director because what they let through is part of creating a myth of these organized crime. So with Andrangheta, that is not possible. You will have to be very creative, probably, in the way in which you present your characters and create the stories, because we know nothing.
I might have to go to
We know even less meaning of the other organizations.
Yeah. It's very mysterious, and then also, these people are beloved. Like, when I've even, like you say, we mainly know the Neapolitan Comorra, and they provide work, right? Like we saw in this film, in Ipponion a little bit. They provide work. And so they're hated, but they're beloved. They're people that you grew up with. So, and
in some ways, they represent a sort of parallel state when you feel that the state has failed you because they're not hearing your complaints, there is no job, housing situations are very bad. You go not to the state authorities, but you go to the local godfather because they know how to fix things with their own means, of course. So this idea that they propose themselves as somehow protectors, sponsors of the people that submit to them and accept their authority is part of the deal. Is that right? You accept their protection, and in exchange for that, you give them your obedience. Same thing that you had in the Middle Ages in the relationship between the knight and the king. They really mimic that same structure: obedience, allegiance versus protection. So there is also the problem of this idea of people that, all in all, do the good of the commoners, the good of the common people, and that's very hard to take away from them.
Well, that's also how the mafia started, right, in Sicily.
Absolutely.
By protecting the people from the feudal lords, and then they became the feudal lords. So,
We are going to move now to the last film that we're going to see tonight. It's very different. It's also slightly longer, and it's a documentary. And it's a documentary on, I would say, the connection between the earth and people, in this case, the Calabrese. And it's a series mostly of interviews that you do, especially with Calabrian American in your neighborhood here in New York, mostly?
Mainly my nonno, my two uncles through marriage, and my dad. And then other Calabrians who were around.
Including young people.
Yeah, two sisters in Brooklyn who were continuing the tradition of urban gardens, a signora that I don't remember how I met her, but it was born of, I mentioned that my father's a chef, but, these men that I grew up with, I kind of had this, kind of preconceived notion of them as, gruff workers, but my one uncle would recite poetry to us when we came home drunk from a night out. He'd be like, wait. And they would start reciting poetry, and it would be like this. And their relationship to their gardens and the plants is just some of the most delicate, loving, beautiful thing I'd seen.
And they're very aware of this special connection. It's not only that, they've always cultivated the vegetable garden, so we do it. No, they are very aware of what it means for them personally and for them as a community to have and nurture this connection between human beings and the earth. And that is also close to something that you do that we have not discussed yet. So another of the hats that Lucia wears so beautifully is that she is a vegan for how many years, Lucia?
I went vegetarian when I was 12, and I've been vegan since around 96.
And you also have a job related to it. Tell us something about your program.
I produce the only vegan lifestyle television show. So it was born, I didn't want to do it.
Your shoes?
Oh, yes, these are vegan.
Vegan shoes?
My nail polish is vegan. My dress, I guess, is vegan. Everything is, my hair, my makeup, hair care, skin care, everything is vegan. I'm vegan inside out and head to toe, as I say, because the animals.
Lucia, and some people are surprised. What do you mean you're Calabrese and vegan? I think they think of Anduja. And
These are made in Italy. These shoes are made in Italy.
So tell us something about that, because I think it's strictly connected. Probably none of these people would have defined themselves as vegan, not even vegetarian probably. But tell us what the connection between your being Calabrese, your being so connected to the tradition of your homeland, even if you were born here, and your choice of becoming vegan and of making of this choice also part of your work, part of your career.
Okay. So you asked me earlier about how did that connection with Calabria, why was it so strong? And they're both connected. I was born to be vegan. I'm literally a tree hugger. And I recognize the sentience of other species as a kid, and this was a direct response to my Calabrian parents and them being in Calabria and them living Calabrese here in New York because they were still continuing their traditions. So, for example, Daddy brings home a pet bunny as the Easter present. Lucia becomes very close with her friend the bunny. And on Easter morning, she goes to say good morning to her friend the bunny.
Uh-oh.
Bunny's not there. She goes around the house, sees Daddy, the chef, with bunny in one hand and a knife in the other, and goes, "That's weird. Daddy, what are you doing with a bunny and a knife, over the sink?" And I wasn't traumatized, but little things like this kept happening that kind of, kept making me conscious of how we're similar to other species and their sentience. And then, I remember the first time I went to Calabria at 6, they were like, "We're going to the Sagra degli Animali." And I was like, "Oh, they're going to celebrate animals." Like, I was so excited, right? And then you see the priest blessing them. I was like, oh, that is so special, I love how beautiful the animals are being treated so special like this. And then you find out that they're being sold. And, my pet goat in Calabria, my mother brought the jump rope for me to play. Jump rope was gone. I was looking for it around the house, found a goat tied up to a post with my rope. The goat became my friend. So, of course, on the saint's feast day, Lucia is looking for her friend the goat who was missing, and none of the adults want to tell me what happened to the goat. And then at lunchtime, 30 of us are seated at the table, and I'm going to cry now. I see a tray with meat, and I realize that it's my friend, the goat. So animal sentience really was something that I recognized as a child, but it wasn't until I was 12 that I found out the pop singer that I had a crush on, and reading the teen magazine, I was like, oh, he's a vegetarian? What does that mean? There are people who do not eat animals. So I went home to my Calabrian parents and I was like, I'm not eating animals. And they're like, you're going to die. And I was like, no, I won't. They didn't have biology class in Calabria when they left. So.
But Lucia, tell us what one could expect of your show.
So people think that veganism is cooking. They think that the vegans don't like the taste of animal flesh. I do not. But there are vegans who do like the taste of animal flesh, but don't want to contribute to the cruelty, especially nowadays with animal agriculture. It's a mess. It's not that simple, and it's horrible to humans and the planet. So the show, I think the thing I do the least is cooking, although people keep asking me for Italian, so I keep doing more Italian recipes. But you can find everything. I have fellow filmmakers on who talk about their documentaries. For example, there's an Italian journalist, like a prominent Italian journalist, who did a documentary called Food for Profit, which has not been released in the US, but it's done very well in Europe. And it exposes, the animal agriculture lobbyists and the lengths to which they're willing to go, like, frankenfoods, like horrific modifications to animals to be able to mass produce meat which is, the antibiotics that they give to animals. So my show covers every aspect of living from the vegan perspective so that people can learn. The most important thing to me is the animal sentience, but you learn scientifically through fellow filmmakers, through the next episode has a vegan veterinarian on, and then the one after that will be all vegan cosmetics, because people now don't even want their cosmetics tested on animals, which to me is a wonderful thing that they don't. So everything. Science. I've had vegan comedians on who actually do stand up about veganism.
Where can one see your show?
Okay, so it airs, if you're here in Manhattan, in the boroughs, M&N, BronxNet, and Brooklyn Free Speech, and
so
it's on
public televisions, like run by the state or the city or the.
They have some city, but they're mainly private donors.
Private donors.
So community television, and it's on YouTube. So just Lucia's Vegan Lifestyle.
Very good. But now we're going to see where it all started, in the vegetable gardens of parts of your family with these incredible people that tell us their stories. Enjoy. The documentary lasts about 40 minutes.
Yeah.
We're going to see you at the end for questions for Lucia. A lot of questions. It's now your turn. To question or comments regarding Lucia's work, the 2 short films, the documentary, or any other thing we discussed. Well, while you think, yes, please.
My last name is literally like Condino, so I see my family.
No, use the microphone, please. We were recording. Thank you.
I see my family in your.
So your last name is?
Contadino.
Contadino.
Yeah. I see my family in your family. I literally got all emotional watching. So thank you for doing work like this. Thank you.
And do you know the origin of your family?
Oh, I'm Calabrese. Yeah. Yeah.
And we had another question, I think. Yes, the gentleman.
I just had a similar experience. That was my Aunt Rose and everybody that I grew up with. It was just beautiful.
Thank you. Lucia, while our audience thinks maybe about another couple of questions, I have one for you. We have these, I haven't discussed yet, the big project you're working on. It's a TV series, and it's based probably on one of the fundamental books in the canon of Italian-American literature, and definitely the most important and most pioneering, written by a woman writer, Helen Barolini. So the book is...
The book is called Umbertina. I don't know if any of you have heard of it. When I was making A Pena do Pana, the first film, I was like, what on earth am I doing? Who is going to want to watch a film about a little girl in a rural Calabria after World War II? But I came here because the Casa was doing a weekend of women, Italian-American women filmmakers, and I was like, what? And I think it was around that time, doing research about who else was crazy like me to tell stories in Calabria, that I came across Helen's novel. And Helen died last year or 2 years ago at 95. And I never really felt a more kindred spirit as far as my Italian-American experience, because Helen, her Umbertina is the seminal Italian-American woman's author, and she literally...
And it's several generations of women, right?
Yeah. So the book she wrote because she was born here in New York. Her nonna was Calabrese, and Helen didn't speak Calabrese, and her grandmother didn't speak any English. So Helen moved to Italy with the intent of discovering, and she wrote the book trying to imagine what her nonna's story was. And I've read this book about 8 times because I'm adapting it for TV. And every single time I'm like, how did Helen know this? Everything she knows, it's historically accurate. And the details of Calabria in every generation. And it doesn't only take place in Calabria, it takes place here in Rome during the height of the Italian cinema and the literary world, and Helen actually was part of that. She was married to a poet, as an established poet in Italy.
And journalist, and very active in the anti-fascist resistance too.
Yeah. So this whole, when I read this, I was like, oh my God, she's only missing the punk rock, which was my Italian American experience.
Did you get to meet her and to talk to her, Lucia? How was that?
Helen and I actually became friends. I don't know if I saw her at an event here. I was like, oh, there's Helen. Maybe someday I'll meet her and I can approach her about, bringing her book to the screen. And I ended up interviewing her for the TV series that I used to produce. And we became friends. And one day we went to lunch and she said, wouldn't it be nice if Umbertina was brought to the screen? I went, are you kidding me? So she gave me the rights to it, and her daughter has continued this extension of...
Her daughter is Professor Barolini. She teaches Italian literature. She's a great expert on Dante at Columbia University.
Yeah. And so I'm adapting it for television. And I have an actor attached, Michael Imperioli, who's a friend and an immense talent, beautiful human being. So he's attached, but so I'm looking
And why would it be so meaningful for you and for Italian Americans in general to see a story like the one of Umbertina produced by a major network or streaming service? Why?
We've never had this story. Right, we have Elena Ferrante's novels on HBO, but those are Italian. We've not had an Italian-American story, one, told through the perspective of the women, and two, without mafia involved. So this would be an absolute historical first, and I think we deserve it, and we need this story.
Where do you find more interest in terms of producers? Which are the world that you maybe wouldn't expect it that show interest, if any?
Yeah,
or you still have to discover them?
Yeah, no, it's interesting because, when I made a Pena do Pana, I was like, my people will want to produce this. But my producer ended up being my African-American friend, a gay friend who was like a white guy, nothing to do with Italian. And, so it was surprised because the stories are universal.
It's universal, absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Like I said earlier, whatever is happening in one place of the world, the details might change, but human beings and animals, human beings go through, right? We go through the same things. So with Umbertina, there's a lot of interest here. With the film, I told you women like it, but Umbertina, there's... that too, the generations of women, because these women, it goes from Umbertina in 1860, and then the book ends in 74, but I've created a new character for the TV adaptation that brings the family, these generations, full circle back to Umbertina in an unexpected way. So you'll have to watch the series someday.
And you have already written the script, or at what point are you now?
Oh, I have the Bible. They have the Bible, which is describes the arch, of the story. I have the treatment. I have a detailed chronology, which was so much work, and I have the pilot script. So, yeah.
So it just needs to be made.
It just needs to be made.
So keep an eye out on Umbertina by Lucia Grillo. We really are rooting for you, Lucia, on this one. Any other question before we let go? Oh, and by the way, there are DVD copies of all three of them or some of them?
The DVD is a double feature, but it's the double shorts. So the two shorts are available on DVD upstairs. It's holiday season, so please get one for yourself and for the people you like, and to
and Lucia will
support.
sign it.
Oh yeah, I would love to if you so desire.
Yes.
What year was the last film made?
I think 2011, between 2011 and 2013. Yeah. 2014, maybe 2014, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
Francesca, the mic for you.
It's a simple question. Thank you. Where was it filmed, the last film?
Terra, sogna, Terra?
Yeah.
Here in New York. So
What part?
my family is in New Rochelle and in Ridgewood, Queens. I think Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. And I think those are all the locations. Yeah, because the 4 of the gentlemen in this are my family. My grandfather, I'm going to cry. 3 of them are dead. So my
It's a beautiful homage that you offer to them. Yeah.
I just wanted to know what their experience was like physically with the land. And I think they gave so much more than I expected. Like my nonno told us things that he had never spoken because of the trauma of being in World War II. And, to hear them all singing, which was, So 3 of them, my nonno, my father, who he wanted to be here tonight, but he couldn't, and my 2 uncles. So they were there was a huge Calabrian community in New Rochelle. I don't know why they went there, but there were a lot of Calabresi there. So yeah.
Which one was your no-no?
The eldest man.
The eldest, yeah.
The one who
With that hat?
yeah, with the hat.
Okay.
Cherry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And of course, Lucia, we are in a time in which immigrants are persecuted, they're vilified, they're dehumanized. And of course, in this film, you talk about Italian immigrants, but the status of being a migrant, of having to leave your own land, to go somewhere else, for a variety of different reasons, it remains the same. And what is important, I believe, and what your work does, specifically the last film, is that it adds a very special touch of humanity to each of these persons. And that's something that is relevant today. That when we talk about immigrants, we never forget that they are human beings, and actually that their experience of having to leave a familiar place, the people they loved, to go to another place that was unknown to them, represents a sort of even more sublime form of humanity. And I think we saw it distilled in your guest in the film. And so I think that it was made in 2011. It still has a lot to say today.
Thank you.
Yes.
My grandmother's from Gafagnana, and she had a garden. She talked to the flowers. Her brother, my Uncle Richie, they loved the garden together. I mean, when I saw your family, I thought of the 2 of them in the garden, how they spoke about the plants and it was their whole life together, that garden. And how it, and she said, some on my beach, she used to say, when something ate one of the flowers, and would ruin the beauty of the flower. But it just brought back my Uncle Richie and my grandmother. And her name was America. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anybody else? I think with this beautiful memory, we can close this evening. And of course, we expect Lucia. There is one more question? One more question.
Just wondering if the shorts are available anywhere besides the DVDs out here.
Yeah, if
Are
you
they
go to
available
my
online as well.
yeah, calabrisellafilms.com.
And of course, we wait for Lucia to come back with Umbertina. Thank you very much for being with us tonight. And thank you to Lucia Grillo.